Alright, I'm going to be making a quick video here on VirtualBox and setting them up Ubuntu Linux. For those who are interested in getting into Linux, and I'd say now is probably one of the better times to do it. Now, as you can see, I'm on Windows 11, which, is what most people are probably on. If you're still using 10, I'd highly advise you to either upgrade or move to possibly using Linux. So, what do you need to get started with this? Well, first off, you're going to need VirtualBox if you're looking to run this in a virtual environment. And what VirtualBox is, if you don't know what it is at this moment, it lets you essentially run sub-operating systems like separate Windows instances where you can have another Windows computer running like a little window like this on your desktop, and it has its own little applications. You can run applications separately from your host machine, which is what is running the VirtualBox here. And why is that a smart idea? Well, it's good if you're testing applications that could potentially be harmful. You could use it as a means of testing applications. You can use it, say if you want to have Windows on your computer and you want to run, use Linux applications, you can run like Ubuntu or any other version of Linux, as a virtual machine, as a sub application on your desktop, and you could run whatever applications you want. So that's kind of just some examples. So what do you need to get started? First you're going to need Oracle VirtualBox, and you can get that at virtualbox.org here. And you would go to download here, and you would select the version that you know directly corresponds with whatever platform you're on. Like if you're on Windows, you're going to get the Windows host. If you're on Mac, you're going to get whichever Mac version you need. If you're on an Intel or Apple Silicon host, and that's referring to the processor. Linux, or if you're using Solaris, which, who's using Solaris out there that probably doesn't know how to set this up already. But for most people, it's going to be the Windows host. So you download that, and it's like installing any other application. Like if you're installing Steam or whatever, it says hey, gives you a little window. You click next, and there's some options, but for most people, you don't really have to tamper with it. You can just keep it all default. It'll set it up for you, and you're gonna have your little Oracle VirtualBox icon here. And once you have that set up, you're going to need to get a version of Ubuntu Desktop. Now, Ubuntu there's many different versions. You can get the desktop, you can get the server version. If you're on a cloud, they have versions for cloud infrastructure, but for us, starting out, your best bet is to go with the desktop because it's very similar to Windows. It boots up, you have a desktop, you can use the mouse, you have icons, very easy to use. So to, from here, if you were to go to the root site here, the landing page, this is what ubuntu.com looks like. And you'd go to products, feature, Ubuntu desktop. All right. And they give you some, information. They tell you about what applications are compatible with some of the major ones. You have Firefox, of course, Discord, Steam, if you're like me and you love your Steam games. And you would go to, download, and then you would download the Intel or AMD 64-bit architecture, which that's most likely what you're using, unless if you're a special case. There are other versions that you can download, but if you're just using a regular desktop or a laptop, go with this one. So when that downloads, you're going to have a ISO image. And what an ISO image is, if you don't know what an ISO image is, it is essentially a virtual CD. It's like like a disk image. That's what it's called. So you can think of it as like back when our computers used to have disk drives. I know they're getting faded out now. You would install the operating system using a CD. You put it in, you boot the computer, and it says, hey, do you want to install? Yeah, and you install it to your hard drive. It's essentially that, but it's a virtualized digital version of that that's on you can download. And then you can use that to install, you could burn it to a real disk if you wanted to, or you could use it to install virtual machines. So once you have it downloaded, you go to the VirtualBox Manager and you click New. And you can give your virtual machine a name. In this case, we'll call it Ubuntu. Right? And you could select where it installs to. And then you would select the ISO image that you downloaded. So you would click this little drop down, click Other, go to Download, and you see you have your Ubuntu. In this case, for me, it's 24.04.3. And then all this should populate based off of what you put up here. You'll know. You can have unattended installation. Me personally, I prefer to you can really what this is it'll go through the installation automatically. You could keep that checked. And you could set up your user account through here. Me personally, I prefer to have that checked and do it manually. It's up to you. So next, you set up the hardware requirements. So with virtual machines, you can allocate certain amounts of your hardware to each virtual machine. So in this case, by default, it gives it 2 gigabytes or 2,480 2 2,048 megabytes of memory, which is 2 gigabytes. In my case, I would like to give it 4 gigs of memory, which is 4096. That's 4 gigabytes. And we'll give it 2 processors. I'll give it 4. And generally around 50 gigs. It can operate on 25, but if you're looking to save files or do work on Ubuntu, I'd recommend a minimum of 50. And once you have that selected, we get a little summary page. You can review this, say finish, and there it is. It's ready to be started up. So we will start the virtual machine, and it will start up the boot from the little ISO that we downloaded, and we can install the operating system. So we get an option to try. If you'd like to try it, you can try it. And this will give you a chance to get familiar with the UI. And there's a little application on the desktop on Ubuntu that lets you install and do all the, install it to the virtual hard drive, the 50 gigs that we specified. And then it'll be persistent. So when we boot into it now, anything you do on this will be deleted until you fully install it. It's non-persistent. But you can freely look at, the applications. You can see that it has Firefox installed. You can connect to the internet and play around. Let's see, is it gonna? Well, actually, I think you gotta go through. Yep, here we go. So yeah, you can fire up Firefox and look around. Go to Google and give it a try. See if you like it, and if you feel like you want to install it and continue using this for other purposes, you would go through this just quick setup configuration menu here. We could skip, and then we could either say, hey, I want to try it, that'll just make this go away, or we can install, and in this case, we'll go with install Ubuntu. We can do automated, or, well, we would need a special file for that, so we will go with interactive setup. We will go with default selection. Now, we could install additional features. I like doing this just in case. Like, we can install third-party graphical and Wi-Fi drivers, which would, set up if you have an NVIDIA pass-through. Say if you have an NVIDIA card on here and you want to set up a pass-through, you can install NVIDIA drivers on Ubuntu here, and we can download additional media formats. So, MP3, MP4, movie, so the OS can recognize, more, not as common file extensions. So in this case, we'll check both of those. All right. Now this is where things can be a little daunting if you don't know what you're doing. So, but if you're doing it the way that I explained in the video, this shouldn't be a problem. So when you install an operating system, you usually get an option if you want to completely delete the disk, and this is the virtual disk, not your actual computer disk, and completely install the OS fresh. Now, if you have, say, if you're using a virtual disk that has an operating system already on it, you can do manual installation, and you can partition and split up the disk however you want and have like a certain OS on one, allocated to like 500 gigs and then Ubuntu for another 500. But in this case, since we're just doing a virtual hard drive that's completely blank, we'll do erase disk and install Ubuntu. That will go. And then this is where we can set up, our computer name and our username and password. So in this case, we'll just call this Ubuntu, and the computer name will be Ubuntu VirtualBox. Username Ubuntu. We'll set a password here, and we will keep required my password and login. You can uncheck this if you want the computer auto login. It just won't prompt you for the password when it boots up. It's going to prompt you for the password if you want to do any administrative tasks. For security purposes, I always keep this checked. If you're just playing around with it and you don't want to log in every time, you could uncheck this. It's up to you. But for me, as a security person, security professional, I'm always, want to have the best security I can. So this is what the review. Oh, yeah, I should mention you could set your time zone in here. It usually automatically will. It usually will detect where you're at, but for me, it always chooses the East Coast because that's where I'm at. It'll say set the time zone to New York City, New York, and from there we can review our setup here. It'll say erase disk. That's pretty much everything we said, and it will install. And this could take a few minutes, so as this goes, I will cut the video and come back when it's done. Okay, so the installation is completed. There was nothing pops up. I would have recorded that for you guys. It's all just automated. There'll be a little bar down here that says, installing, and you just let it go, and you'll be presented with this. You can continue using the non-persistent version where you can just play around and do as you wish. You can break the operating system, it doesn't matter. And then when you're ready, you can just restart, and it will restart the virtual machine and boot you into Ubuntu, a fresh Ubuntu installation. Now right here, if you're, it does, VirtualBox will do this automatically, but Ubuntu will ask you to remove the installation media. You don't have to worry about that on VirtualBox. Just hit enter. VirtualBox will do it manually or automatically. It'll unmount the ISO image and it'll boot you right in. And here we are. So it's just a standard login, similar to what you're probably used to with Windows. You will log in, and here is your desktop. And it'll say welcome, yay, you installed it. You can install Pro. Generally, I don't. Pro is if you want some additional features, latest security updates, if you're worried about encryption requirements or standardization, like if you want to be compliant. This is really good if you're using this in the enterprise, but for home use, it's up to you. For simplicity, we'll just skip that for now. Me personally, I say no. This is if you want to share system data. I don't. And that is it. And you're ready to use it. Now, you might notice that it's kind of tiny here. You can change the resolution by going to the settings up here, this little settings cog, display, and you can modify the resolution to however you would like. See? And you are ready to use Ubuntu at this time. And that will be it for today. I will make more videos on Linux and essentially cybersecurity. That's what I do. I hope this was informative and enjoyable, and I hope more people will become more accustomed to Linux, because it seems like it's becoming the new paradigm. So, thank you for watching. Have a good evening. Take care.